Anyway,
Yeah.
so I've got three stories. I'll try not to go too long, but so along the lines of having class pets, rats. I had rats in my room for a long time, which a lot of the kids' first impression is rats. Who wants to have a
Right. Right.
kind of class pet is that, right? And
Yeah.
so, but just like you would imagine, for most of them, it takes all of about 10 minutes to start bonding with them when they see how cute they are and they hold them and they realize, they're not so bad after all.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
I lucked out for the first few times because rats don't have a particularly long life. They only live two to 3 years,
Mm-hmm.
and so and I would always get a pair, and not I'd always make sure I'd get two males because we didn't I didn't need to start having sex education in second grade,
No, no, no. Yeah.
but anyway, so the first couple of experiences, it all went well. A lot of it was related to trying to teach kids responsibility.
Hmm.
Um, I like to have fun, but it was a lesson too. It was teaching acceptance about how the idea that sometimes we can make an assumption about something and we
Hmm.
find out, yeah, and so yes,
Yeah.
and of course you try to relate it to people too, right? And
Hmm.
your
Hmm.
different color, if your religion's different, we just should accept
Hmm.
anyone. And
Right.
Hmm.
so there was a lot of that. Well,
Yeah.
anyway, so the first couple of years I lucked out, and when the rats passed, they happened to pass in the summertime, and I didn't have to deal with that issue, even though it was always there in my mind. And
Yeah.
so, rats in the classroom was a class job, and
Hmm.
Hmm.
so every I was a big, put the kids to work, right? And
Yeah.
and so one of the kids each week would be in charge of feeding and giving them water and changing the cage. And there are all kinds of jobs in my classroom, which is just something I really believe in. I think it's really good to
Yeah.
teach kids some responsibility. So I come to work one morning, and I happen to be getting evaluated that day, which happens about once a year for a teacher. And my principal was going to be coming in, about an hour and a half into the day. And I open the classroom door, and the rat cage is open. And I'm thinking, oh gosh, it's not that this has never happened before, but the timing was terrible. One of the kids
Yeah.
didn't get the cage shut.
Yeah.
It happens,
On evaluation day,
on
right? You're being
evaluation day.
observed. Yeah.
So I start scrambling around, and I had this kind of arrangement with the kids that this is my time to work before school, and I,
Hmm.
I kept the classroom door shut so that they
Hmm.
didn't come in and out, and when they
Hmm.
showed up, and so they would just put their backpack outside the door, go on the playground and play, and then when the bell rang, okay, come on in.
Yeah. Right.
And I would usually that's the time we'd have 5 minutes, and I'd usually put the rat cage out. I had this double decker, uh, you know, the Rolls Royce of rat cages,
Yeah.
and
Like a
the
penthouse,
kids
even. Yeah.
Hmm.
kids would watch
Yeah.
them playing, and it's got the exercise wheel, and so rats are like, yeah, they're like a lot of animals. If they have an audience, they'll perform and do a lot of and be very active. Well, anyway, back to this particular morning, I I'm looking around and I can't find them anywhere. And I know kids. I know
You
that
can't find either
I,
one of them. Both of them are
I couldn't
gone,
find
right?
I
Yeah.
couldn't find either of them at first. And I know kids. I can just picture what's going to happen because if they know the rats are loose, then that's what's going to be on their mind. screw
Oh, yeah.
math. Who cares about that? I
Yeah.
just want to find out where the rats are. So, I end up I've got like about a half an hour before school starts, and I find one of them, and I was able to catch him. The kids named the rats. We had that year we had Snowball, an all white rat, and Oreo, who was a black and white rat. And so I round up Snowball, and Oreo is still on the lam somewhere in the room. Like I like to say, tasted freedom, and that was it. He wasn't giving it up easily. Well, I can't find him. I got to get ready for the day. The evaluations in my mind. All this is kind of going on. I'm thinking about the kids, and the bell rings. It's the first bell rings. So I meet them outside the classroom, and I say, "Okay, here's the situation." And anytime it's something new, well, you've got kids hooked, right? Especially this. It's like I'm deputizing them or something as
Yes.
sheriffs. And
Yes.
we're gonna spend 5 minutes, kids. We're gonna spend 5 minutes, and then if we haven't caught Oreo in that time, then we're gonna have to give it up. And so, sure enough, they just love this whole thing, and we're all over the place. And we actually saw him a couple of times, and then he'd run under something else, and so 5 minutes are up. We haven't caught him, and I'm like, I can just picture the scene where I'm like on the ground crawling around with the kids, and my principal walks in or something. What are you doing,
Oh,
right? So
hi.
yeah. So I just, I'm making a judgment. Oh, I guess we better get back to work. And I realized, we got one recess break before she comes. And of course, you know, it's exactly like you imagine. The kids are hardly paying attention to the language arts lesson
Yeah.
or whatever is going on, and they're just like
Mm-hmm.
that's what their mind is on.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, so then of course you get the kids that want to offer to stay in at recess to help you, and you realize, this is probably more trouble than it's worth. So no, you go outside. Anyway, luckily I end up catching the rat at recess, put him in the cage, and the principal was never the wiser. And it was actually one of my best evaluations ever.
Yeah, because you didn't have time to overthink it. You spent all your
No,
time.
no,
Yeah. Yeah.
no, but
And
I mean,
yeah.
it just inside your, and
Mhm.
and my principal was very, she was, I worked for some really great people, and some average, and some even not so good, but this was one of the best. And
Mm.
she would have, I'm sure she would have just found the whole thing comical. But when you're like, oh, I'm being evaluated, I want to put my best foot forward here,
Right,
right? Not
Yeah.
have any of my audience paying attention to me. So finally, the last one is really similar to your story, Win, because one day it happened. So
right.
my routine was that I would have the cage out for 5 minutes before school started. We had two bells, and kids would often go over, and depending on their mood, just spend time watching. And then if we had, on the rare occasion that we had time at the end of the day, I'd get the rats out of the cage, and anyone that wanted to hold them, and we'd pass them around, talk to them a little bit and such. And anyway, but then when the second bell rang and school starting, okay, we can't just leave them, because if you put, even if you put them on a cabinet or something, as soon as they start running on the exercise wheel, you've got kids laughing, and so, well, I learned that you just got to kind of put them out of sight. And so I put them in the
Yeah.
back of the room, and rats are nocturnal. So they would just go to sleep, and it was a piece of cake. And so one day I'm in the middle of class, and one of the kids happened to walk back into that area, probably just sharpening his pencil. I don't remember what he was back there for. He wasn't doing anything wrong, but uh, from the top of his lungs, he yells out, "Snowballs!" And so, as you can imagine, it was just like bees to honey. It all just rush over there,
Yeah.
and we're talking, this is second grade now this year. And so I even though I knew it was a possibility that it
Mhm.
would happen, I probably panicked more than anything. And I go into full cover up mode, and it's clear the rat is not alive, but I start telling him, "Oh, maybe I'll take it, I'll take him to the vet after school." So I throw a sheet over the cage, and I just have to get them back on track. And
Mhm.
Yeah.
I can't let this disrupt
Yeah.
the day. And I'm also thinking of, as I'm teaching and having some break time, I'm like, what am I going to do in this
Mhm.
situation?
Yeah.
And so anyway, I finish the day out, and the kids leave, and they haven't been asking about him all day. So that part worked,
Hmm.
even though it's, I know. And sure
Yeah.
enough, I lift up the sheet and confirm he's not
The
living.
diagnosis.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm thinking, what do I do? Well, I'm going to call the counselor and see if she has some advice. And we had a great counselor that year, and she says, "Oh, I've got the perfect book. It's regarding the death of a pet, and if you have to, if you have to put a pet down, just different scenarios."
Hmm.
And I said, "Thank you. This sounds
Yeah.
great."
Yeah.
So and I, "Do you have any other suggestions?" Well, she said, "Why don't you just kind of feel it out? And, well, do I talk to them about this? What do you think?" Well, you just kind of have to get a feel for it. And of course, it wasn't fair to like just put her on the spot either.
Right.
Anyway, so I kind of make this plan for the next day. Okay, the beginning of the day, I'm going to tell them, yeah, it's I have to tell them the truth that the rat is has passed, and then I was going to go into reading the story. Well, that night, the night that the rat had passed away, it just happened to be a a choir performance at our local junior college that
Mm.
some of the kids were going to sing in this. It was around Christmas time, and I like to go to things like that, as and the kids see you out of context, and it
Yes.
means so much to them.
Hmm.
My
Hmm.
teacher cared about me enough to come, so
Yeah.
I get there a few minutes early, and here leads into my faux pas here. So I go backstage, and I really should have been thinking about that this would happen, but I thought their minds are going to be on this performance. They're excited to sing for their parents, and one of the little girls in my class, comes up to me, and I'm hugging them, and well, what happened to the rat? She says, and so in retrospect, I should have just kept my white lie going. But instead, I decided to use that moment to be honest. Oh, well, I don't. He's gonna make it, and which was just not the right thing to say. Well, she gets weepy right immediately, and I
Hmm.
realize, oh my gosh, what did you do? So it's about 5 or 10 minutes before the performance, and I'm thinking, oh, I know she's upset now, but after a
She'll
few
shake it
minutes,
off. Yeah.
she'll shake it off.
Yeah.
Well, sure enough, they pull the curtains up. I'm sitting back in the audience, and there's probably 50 kids in this choir standing on the rafters. you know, and they're singing these joyous songs
Oh, no.
and just belting it out. And there's one little girl, as you can imagine, who's still in tears, but the poor thing is just she's still trying to sing as she's crying. And I mean, I just feel like a complete schmuck. And of course, no one else in the audience knows what's going on. I'm sure her parents were mortified. What's going on? Oh, maybe, you know, maybe this little girl's got to go to the bathroom or something, and she's upset. Who knows?
Yeah.
Anyway, I just felt so bad about it. Well, anyway, I did get a chance to talk to the parents afterwards, and I explained the whole thing, and they were very
Yeah.
cool. But the following morning, okay, it's D-Day here. So the kids come in and I explain the situation, and I said, you know, I've got this story I want to read to you. Can I share that with you? Oh, yeah. And they wanted to hear the story, and
Mm-hmm.
they were sad, but it was you know, it was just kind of somber. And so I read the story, and I wish I remembered what the book was called, but I don't. But anyway, it was very tastefully done and very, you know, it left them in a pretty good place.
Mm-hmm.
And so then I'm like, okay, well, now what? You know, you don't just like, okay, now back to that, right?
Right.
So you just kind of have to use your judgment in
Mm-hmm.
situations like this. So I thought to myself, well, maybe we should have some kind of like a downtime here. And I
Mm-hmm.
suggested, what do you guys think? Would you like to draw some pictures and or write about, you know, your memories of the rat? Oh yeah, they really like that
Mm-hmm.
idea.
Mm-hmm.
So I put on some music, and they're drawing and I'm drawing, and everybody seems pretty content. The atmosphere is really super quiet, but no one's super upset, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
feeling like, oh, this is okay. I think this
Yeah.
is going pretty good.
Hmm.
Anyway, one of the kids comes up, and you know the kids start finishing, and of course they want to show their drawings or whatever they're working on to me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Mm-hmm.
what? Oh, this is really nice, and oh, I said that's so sweet, and so I'm telling them, you know, offering my comfort to them, and then another one gets the idea. Says, what if we get the other rat out, and
Mm.
we present the cards to the other rat. And so again, you know, the wheels are
Oh
going,
my gosh.
how's this going to play out?
Oh my gosh.
And so
Sympathy cards for a rat. I mean, it's like the
exactly,
best, right?
It is.
exactly.
Yeah.
So I think, yes, I think this is the right thing. It feels right.
Mm-hmm.
So sure enough, you know, we bring the cage out, and it was one of the sweetest moments in my career. These kid after
Mm.
kid gets up, and they you know, they hold their card open. If they wrote some words, I'm gonna miss you. You were the best rat ever, and you know, and so they're sharing these in front of the other kids, which of course then encourages other kids to
Yeah.
share.
Yeah.
It was just part of their necessary grieving, and
Yeah.
we get right near the end, and this is perhaps as sweet as anything in the story. um, you know, we're just about wrapping it up, and I have a couple of kids come up to me, and well, we made cards for you, Mr. Springer. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And it was like,
Mm.
I am, you know, here I am so worried about them. And
Yeah.
how sweet is that, that they cared enough, you know, they're thinking about me at the same time. And I mean, I like the rats, but you know, I'm not like attached to them like my dogs or something like that. But
Right.
you know, it's one of those
Mm.
beautiful, it's the thought that counts moments. So
Yeah,
So
but I always
that's
think you
that. And
can't,
when I heard your
but you
story
can't give it
about,
if you never got it. So I love that about the kids. They got all of that from you and they were able to give it back in kind. Sorry for talking over you, Pete.
no, I'm talking too much here,
Oh,
but
no, no.
I just, when I read Wynn's story, that's immediately what I thought,
Mhm.
because that is tricky ground
Mhm.
Yeah.
for a parent and children, and
Hmm.
and of course, not all children are wired the same. So
Mhm.
there's not one
Right.
solution fits all for
Yeah.
everybody.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Oh, that's such a
Yeah.
dear story.